You're clearer now.
And Sasha, did you say you were going to add in more? Could we get 3 more cameras or 4 more? Can you actually do that or no?
So one's from my Neuro Integrator. The other one's the TV screen. That's 2. I don't know how the office monitor phone works. There's a screen there.
Oh wait, I've got a laptop here.
I've got 2. I've got access to 2 more screens.
Yeah, I'm just saying that between the
And you'll come up with the 3rd.
Well, just humor me.
Oh, it's okay. So it's challenge Sasha time. Okay, I'll go switch them on. Hold on. Gotta try.
Yeah, because I think that if I'm really into the number side of things.
Sure. No, I'm just switching stuff on. Just give me a moment.
And it's like 9 on the screen is like it's a perfect 3 threes.
Yeah. But it will mean that I'll have to have the Zoom on my. So I have a separate laptop for brain training, and I don't typically download stuff onto there. Just basically to keep it clean. Okay. I'll have a look.
Maybe I'll jump back in and this map is personal space, one-on-one space, group space, community space, and sacred space. And this map is kind of like of all the maps in all this 25 years, this map is, I think, the starting point, because you and I just went to a one-on-one. Before we were in a group when Sasha was here. And just that difference is massive in terms of boundaries, in terms of, how do we have a conversation? If you and I are in a deep conversation, a third person enters, a lot of the times the conversation shifts to that person, or it gets interrupted, or it changes, right? There's a transformation of the information flow as soon as you add another human. It's kind of basic and obvious, but we don't really have protocols and understandings as to what conversations we're in, what are we entering into, and where are we supposed to kind of meet together to create some shared context. And so part of this, or what I've been working on, is a series of conversation types that define the context of the moment. Like if I'm in a storytelling and that's very different than if me and you and I are doing a brainstorm. And it's very different if you and I are going through some negotiation. And so when groups of people can agree upon the sequence of these conversation types to go through a process to attain a goal, we are now going into a conscious realm of information flow that is, I think, a bit different than most, let's say, corporate environments, where it's very hierarchical, it's just a different information system.
Beautiful. How have you found the connection between conversation flow connected with money flow?
Well, I would say that most meetings are to impose control. If you control the conversation, you control the money flow. Or if you control the money flow, you generally control the conversation. But that's
what if we looked at the idealistic sort of version of wealth, as far as like, if you were to compare a businessman versus an artist or a priest or a social worker, each person is making money with a different methodology. So I don't know what my question is anymore, but what do you think is the highest capacity, as humanity? Well, let's just talk about planet Earth for now, I guess, since that's supposedly the planet that we're on. Supposedly, I guess. See, now I don't even know what question to ask anymore, because
I think
we need a framework.
I think I get what Just
Okay.
in terms of like, if you look at, different, the things that drive humans when they're at their best.
I'm listening. I was just working on the screens, but
Okay.
I'm listening. Yeah.
I'm just saying that I'm bringing in the values, and I think this is sort of like one of the most important things in terms of like the shift, the larger picture, the largest container that we're going to agree upon to me is like the uplifting of consciousness on this planet, towards peace rather than war, towards love rather than basic human drivers that are like the old economic system is being driven by fear. The new economic system is going to be driven by love. Like basic distinctions of what this is versus what this is. And having an ability to take the values which define both systems and have a methodology to see both paradigms, to see the old paradigm, the languaging of it, to see the new paradigm, the languaging of it, and to be able to distinguish the two.
Mm-hmm.
So you always know, if I'm going into an old paradigm meeting, well, I'm not going to expect certain things. If I'm a new paradigmer going into an old paradigm meeting, I'd better be prepared for either conflict or being dismissed or being shunned or being blocked or being stopped, because there's an actual war between the two in terms of control of the communication space. And up until now, what I see is that, the old paradigm doesn't know the new paradigm is existing. The pupae does not know the butterfly is there, but the butterfly is just, in a state of shock with all its cells divided across the planet. But as soon as all these cells come together and learn to communicate online or telepathically, boom, this is now the new organizing force of the planet. This is operating at a higher frequency. It's operating for the good of everybody. And the masses, or all the people, will go, okay, good idea. Let's go this way. Because to me, they've just been stupefied into a way of thinking that allows this fear-based economy to exist, when deep in our hearts, none of us want it.
Ah,
Mm-hmm.
yes. So where do you think fear originated from? Some people think it's like a virus that grew by accident. Other people think it's like another planet invaded this planet, like that was made up of like, lions and tigers and bears and snakes. Snake consciousness, so I don't know. It's hard because it's hard to say. The first question I had to ask in philosophy class was if living and all encompassing, then how can something of that nature create a universe that gives birth to fear and death? So it's like sort of a paradox in philosophy. So God is either all loving or he's not all loving, and like a certain percent of the universe actually has inherent evil that has its own domain of kingdom and of power, which again doesn't make any sense, because why would a creator create a universe that has that possibility built in the first place? So other people think that fear didn't come from somewhere, but actually it's actually a psychological delusion that when you wake up from a nightmare, then you don't have to address the qualities and the details of that nightmare, because you understand that it was a nightmare. So really it's more about elevating consciousness and the intellectual conscious ability of the perceiver to identify and discern, is this true? Is this illusion? Is this a high, sort of a hallucination, a cosmic collective hallucination that doesn't necessarily need to be addressed in the same way we address reality, but actually more needs to be something that we wake up from. So, because what I'm noticing is most people spend most of their time talking about the details of the fear as opposed to the details of the victory, and they talk about the details of the darkness as opposed to the strengths of the light. If there's two opposing forces and one of them's stronger, and I'm only talking about the weaker force, then I'll never come to know the abilities to overcome that with the higher intelligence. So it's like I spent most of my life thinking, oh, I have to solve all these problems and like create all of these TED Talks and dispense all this information. But then I was like, wait, what is my core objective here? Do I want to spend my whole life solving problems, or spending my whole life living within a place that has no problems? So if I'm living in a place that doesn't have any problems, now I'm coming from a completely different place. So, um, yoga for me is like one body of language. Yoga is a body of language that helps me, at least personally, to have a way to navigate through this experience without sort of spending all of my time like creating problems and solving them. So, in yoga, in the sense of like coming into union with creation and love and the love of life. And but a lot of people seem to think that, oh, if you're living in peace, you're ignoring all of the suffering and the darkness in the world. So this is really seems to be a huge issue in the world. A lot of people are spending and making millions and billions and trillions of dollars off of problems and problem solving.
I just have a question.
Yeah,
Are
go
you
ahead.
still asking the question?
Yeah, I'm asking,
Because
like, I'm trying to give you, I'm trying to set you up.
Try to hold the whole of the question, but
I'm setting you up. Don't worry, I'm setting you up for greatness.
No, but I wanna move the answer to Sasha, because she's been listening to both of us and doing all these other things in the background. But I think her perspective on answering this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I love.
Could you put that question again in one sentence, maybe that's under 20 minutes?
Okay, yeah. So what is, the origin of fear, or is it an illusion that we have to wake up from?
With the answer already in it.
Wow. Like I've been given that. I feel like I've been given the golden cookie. Wow. So I was listening to you, Paul, Sparks, and I really don't have a lot to speak into that, other than just one line, really, and that is, and it's based on what you just said, that historically, and what is currently still running, is very much on a linear track. You find the problem, solve the problem, find another problem, solve the problem, find another problem, solve a problem, and then build these towers, these problem solving towers, and then knock them down and start all over again. And I think we're all in agreement and we're all of the understanding that's that is the old way. And so I'm coming in with very much a sense of a curiosity. I don't have all the answers, so I'm not coming in with a solution. I'm coming in with adventure and excitement to see creative beings come together and actually generate what Paul is saying. This is a very long sentence. Sparks, sorry, I sort of flip between calling him Sparks and Paul. So Elijah, you'll have your own thing going with Sparks there, but is to really make a shift, a big shift into doing things differently. And so I saw that in your work, and what you're putting out, what you're generating, is an approach that is radically different. And I think you were describing that when you were speaking just a minute ago, Elijah, as well, about two distinct paradigms. And I think Sparks is sounds to me saying the same thing. There's two distinct paradigms. It's time to move into higher awareness and educate people globally in that, where it covers every aspect of our lives. So not just in a sort of a meditative practice for wellness, so to speak, or like in the fitness industry, or we all go to our yoga clubs, but where tools for awareness are actually they have that ripple effect into every aspect of our lives. So relationally, like how we connect, our communication styles, how we work, our work practices. It's everything, right? So I'm not saying yoga is everything, but I would say awareness is everything. And so you have a body of information that speaks into that. Sparks has a history of and an ability to work with that even now and moving forward, to really take what is here and just leapfrog it into that next stage, so that we're not in this place of talking about it, but we're in a place of doing something with it, and that's what I see. That's really where I'm coming from. Okay, so I see it, I hear it, I feel what both of you are saying, and other people too, but let's do something with it now. Like that's really where I'm coming from, which is why I was saying, I'm here to listen, to see how to move forward, like what's the best way, not because it's a problem, but there's been a lot of talking, and it would be cool now to just experiment. I would expect, if anything, it to be a bit of a mumbling and a fumbling kind of process. You kind of feel your way intuitively, as opposed to have a really rigid, structured plan. And I think Sparks was speaking about that too. Does that resonate with you in terms of what I'm saying there?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're hitting the proverbial nail on the head in terms of, I'm sure me and Sparks could probably talk for the rest of our lives here, and it would be very interesting. But at least for me, I need to move from where I am to where you're saying I need to be in terms of bringing the tools into the world. And
yeah.
in terms of Sparks has that ability to light the spark. And
Yeah.
Spark, and I do need that. I mean, I'm self-imploding with creativity without.
Yeah.
It's I'm I don't want to describe my truth because it would just make too many people laugh at the absurdity of it. But there are, in spite of my apparent life choices, something has come through which does give a different type of information graphic.
Yeah.
That is linked into a new way of thinking. And
Yeah.
I, on my own, am locked into my limits of my own capacity and abilities. And it's, I feel like I'm 1/20th of a part. And I think what you brought up, Sparks, before about the just get going, kind of get the, start building the ship, and other people they're going to join in. And I believe that this, to me, like each of us probably has an extremely strong network of people. And we don't come in alone. We come in with this, whatever we're connected to. But then as we start to, find the others who are at the stage we're at of wanting to kind of do global consciousness, infotech, hugely affecting the species now type attitude, we're going to get along. But to me, it's like the small stuff and the little stuff and it's like I just see so many people trapped in their romantic lives or their like family lives, their business, whatever the life is. It's a ball, and it sort of keeps out the species level stuff that we're all could activate or could access, and we need to, for each of us to be a sovereign being looking at our place within this larger species and going, I have a voice. And now you have a voice, but boy, we got a strong voice when we come together. We can't do that if we don't learn how to communicate in a way that honors each other's gifts and allows everyone to get their sort of piece. But it's a very balanced effort, because I think in a lot of the old paradigm, one person or one team or one group kind of takes the ball and runs and leaves everyone behind, when in fact we need to empower everybody who's doing good everywhere with the tools so they can all kind of do the big work that they're doing just at a higher level, just like we need to get to. That said, I would love help in terms of turning, this sort of this infographic into a real wheel, into sort of like information conduits, into a way to create a value system where your information system is organized by integrity, by love, by you are choosing the values and the virtues of which you are then communicating to the world. So it's starting at the core of you. What is your code of honor? What are you standing for? Each individual, before you're a group and before you're a human, before you're anything, define who you are, and then in sort of layers of loyalty, connect to those who are on the same page as you, for those going in the same direction, and those, you know, let's say in a larger group, want peace on the planet. Because if you distinguish peace from war as a basic distinction, and then really look at, you know, there's billions over here, and there's like probably 100,000s of over here, and those hundreds of thousands have, as you say, that whether it's a parasite or it's some type of thinking that has everyone thinking in this lower vibration, when
Yeah.
it's, as you say, it's utter illusion. It's a house of cards that needs to come down. And so from whatever I want to do with this, it's like empower the people to do what they really need to do, and educate everyone into the tools of how to do that.
I have a question. How do you two feel about creating something that invites people in so that they have a space to journey in those values? Because we can talk about the values and get the bigger picture, and it's a necessary, valid, I'm going to go so far as saying truth picture too. It's, you know, it is the truth, but it's sort of finding a place of how do people participate in that? You know, when you're talking about a system shift, you know, how do communities participate in that? What can we create that invites people to really explore that level of communication? Because we can share about styles of communication, but if we don't pick up the phone and talk to each other, or tap on a keyboard, like I'm just using examples of what we have right now, then we're not actually utilizing this new way of communicating. So you know, do you have ideas around what you feel could be like a great, and it could be a starter, like I think Sparks was saying that it, you know, it's almost providing sort of a starter engine, and then it will, I have no doubt about it whatsoever, it will snowball. You know, more people come on board, it starts to grow, and that initial platform then provides a foundation. It's a safe place. It's a place where people are now exercising this level of awareness, and then they're opened up to the possibilities, and from that is born all these other things. Does that sound practical, or does it seem too structured? I mean, for me it sounds like structure, but then that's me, and I'm a bit of a structure bunny. So I just wondered what your thoughts are on that.
I'll just ask them, why doesn't Sparks answer that first?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I would say first thing that comes to mind is looking at it as setting up sort of like a curriculum,
Mm-hmm.
and then a sort of like an online university. If you do you guys know about Mindvalley, for example?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Mindvalley is a you know, originally they were just doing like advertising for, you know, like chicken soup for the soul kind of people, and then he got like an office in Malaysia, and now they're just all over the map. And my friend Andrew Hewitt is friends with the founder of Mindvalley, so they're cool. You know, my vision was I always wanted to create like a MTV 2.0, so like a really cool Jimi Hendrix type of community that's all around the world. So basically you have like a network of like everyone that's ever created a festival, everyone that's ever created like some sort of spiritual thing, or a conference or a retreat or a workshop or a healing center, and you bring all of that together into one branded community. So then what you end up with is you're building, once again, the key word is building a platform, because a platform allows for the sort of organic technology approach. So you're thinking of it as if you're building an organic organism, as opposed to a technological robot that's stiff and can't evolve as the users are evolving. And then the other important thing is like keeping in mind that like when we start off with seeding an idea, we have the whole piece of the pie, but as we get more users and more investors and quote unquote stakeholders, shareholders, then each of those shareholders, users are shareholders too, then the pie starts getting split up and you spawn that into the world. So ultimately, my vision is that we actually have like a think tank, idea tank that gives birth to a different company or platform like on a daily basis. And we can create a platform, and then we can also consult, be a consulting firm that helps upgrade already existing platforms, and then it starts to form into like an ecosystem, and everything's just plugging into each other. And so theoretically, there's already dozens and hundreds of other people and companies out there in the world that are doing things of this nature in every capacity known to man. So we're not necessarily claiming, oh, we're the only ones doing it or the first ones doing it. But if we put all of our attention into building out and evolving this ecosystem, this global ecosystem, I believe truly that we will then be stepping into our own higher selves on a fifth dimensional level. And as they say, you take one step forward and God takes 99 steps your way. So all we have to do is take that genuine step forward, like Indiana Jones onto the invisible bridge, and the world will come conspiring and rushing in to fill in all of the other holes.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yes.
I love what you're saying, and I really, I think it's a great question and a great answer. And I think the essence of it is the higher spiritual path, and the creating a container for that is what I'm hearing. And in my opinion, the values are that higher spiritual path in terms of the methodologies, I guess, for us to practice together. We all share integrity. We all share cooperation. We all share love. Things generally go well. And the ability to create that container in a language structure, like I would call what you're saying a shared knowledge community.
Cool.
It's kind of
sorry, Elijah, I didn't catch the last bit. A shared knowledge
community.
Okay, yeah.
Have you guys seen the movie The Corporation?
I love that movie.
So
I don't know if I've seen it.
it basically states that the problem with society is that the organizational structure, which is the cell for this whole economic system, corporations, has the attributes of a psychotic individual. And so the reason we're seeing what we see, in one sense, it isn't just, let's say, the people and whatever is their greed and everything that's bad, let's say, about this system. The actual structure itself creates it. And so the corporation is like the basis of this cell for the old paradigm. And the new paradigm, it needs like a new cell. And in a lot of the, let's say, transformational literature, they speak about, that there are these imaginal cells that are the cells that are turning from the pupae into the butterfly. And then through the metaphor, we are all sort of, let's say, imaginal cells, and we're in the middle of moving towards this new 5D human being, whatever that may be. And some of us are already there, and some of us have no idea what you're talking about, and everybody in between. But when you go to a group level, when you go to the way humans come together, it's like all those old paradigm structures, the corporations, the nonprofits, the co-ops, everything, doesn't matter what, is all embedded with this kind of, the rules are against you, but in this, so we have to create something new. We have to create, and that whatever is the shared knowledge community, it's based upon sacred geometry. It's based upon like how nature actually creates. Like if you're in alignment with universal law, if you are the, how First Nations people would be in reverence with the land and in respect with the animals and in reverence with each other, you're going to build a good system, so to speak. And so the most of my work has been looking at the design of sacred geometry and language coming together and creating these formations that if you share in your mind, you are going to manifest in reality. But what I've seen is that to get there, you have to go through your shadow. You have to go through the transformative process of the leaving the old paradigm and coming into the new paradigm. And for a lot of us in the past, there wasn't a lot of information or people who knew what the frick that meant. And now, you know, it's just starting to pop out all over the place. Like people are getting woken up and they're lit and they're, you know, whether it's through drugs or not, it doesn't matter. You have one of those drug experiences and you are not looking at reality the same way. And so there's this whole generation of kids that are just, you know, they're, you know, so far ahead of my generation and above in terms of consciousness. And they're sick and tired of what they've been given, but they haven't been given the tools yet to really come together. So I think what you're talking about, Sparks, in terms of the collaborative nature of the infotech and creating a space for people to come and talk in a totally different way and give them the tools to truly, you know, turn this world into a world of peace.
Yeah. So brother Elijah, if you think about, like, if I were to walk onto a university campus, you know, a university campus is sort of embodying this idea of an ecosystem. And, you know, I could walk in and I could walk into, so, you know, there's hundreds of different colleges and different labs I can go to. So that's a huge menu for my mind. So if we apply that same model to what we're looking at here, and now the thing is that we're not building a physical piece of real estate. We're building sort of it's digital. It has a lot of physicality to it, in the sense that when you put one website up or one landing page up, instantaneously every device in the world has access to it. That's a huge, it's almost magic compared to how things were 50, 100 years ago. So my understanding, you know, in the way ad agencies work and production companies, film companies, and creating things that go viral, what is the mathematics and the science of creating a successful brand and so on. What I've learned after launching like about 100 different websites in the last 10 years is there are very clear patterns that everything can involve and everything can be done better, but there's certain patterns that if you try to like sort of like ignore those patterns, it's kind of not going to work out. Like the popular example I was always given was, if I had to create a door and I wanted to innovate the door, where the doorknob goes tends to always be in the same place. No matter how crazy a door looks, the doorknob's always going in the same place. And so when you look at those types of dynamics of the limitations of the human body frame, so what I'm now looking at is, how do I design around the user experience, user-centered design, as opposed to designing around my brand, my idea, my mission. And so again, we get back to the key word, the platform. So basically the idea is like, anyway, I don't have to explain what a platform is, so let's just move on. So what does it look like as far as the rollout plan? You know, what I see is like, you have an inner core team and you bring together like your core team, and you have like you and a shaman and a scientist and an investor and a medicine man, and you have like a nice King Arthur in the round table. And yeah, is that it? Yeah, cool. Wait, what?
Nice.
Yeah, so then so you have your core team. Okay, let's say we have that, and then starting to bring in the layers of the ecosystem. So like there's so many layers we couldn't ever possibly list it all. Whoa, what's that one? How do I go full screen like so I could see it? Oh wow.
Oh, screen's not mine.
Yeah. Whoa.
That's a time map. This is like that is connecting the present moment to minute, to hours, to days, to lunar cycles, seasons, to years, to your lifetime, to timelessness, and then back to the present moment.
So let's say we take that, right? Let's say you just walked into the DMV office and they're like, hi, how can I help you? And you're like, oh, I have a parking ticket. They're like, okay, go over here to this section.
Right.
So how do we take like a website or a brand or a homepage, or, I don't want to like box this into a container yet, so I'm kind of keeping it abstract. But how do we take this idea of like, okay, we're launching this, let's just call it a university for now, or a mystery school, or whatever it's called. But what are the, pardon?
The School of Conscious Communication.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. I thought you were going to say the school of thought, or the school of awakening, but no, School of Conscious Communication. So what would be the main sections? Like, because what I envision is like, here's the thing that I'm trying to get to, I guess, is if we can target the top, like the top 5 to 10 categories where we are certain we could bring massive value, then all we have to do is communicate to those categories. So for example, if we say the School of Conscious Communication is launching 5 programs next year. One is for, government people. One is for athletes. Yeah, pardon?
Administrators, teachers, facilitators, students, and clients.
That's a nice one.
Because originators are the people who create all the new knowledge. They're the ones like me, like you. I'm not sure how far yours are, but my guess is you're probably an originator. Somebody who's created something new. They're usually high value, they're usually under supported, and they need infrastructure and marketing. They need something to tap into that can help them get their work into the world. Someone like myself, right, who's sitting on top of a gold mine, but by myself, I ain't digging it out. And then you need administrators to run the whole thing, because it certainly ain't going to be the originators. They're too busy digging a mine or whatever the frick they're doing, but they ain't in the office, collecting checks. Then there's teachers, people who actively just want to teach, and they can take some of the originators' work or somebody else's, but they're natural teachers. They're not trying to come up with something new. They have to teach what is there. And then there's facilitators that are sort of, I would say, a bit younger, but they're the people who are going into groups and making the groups get somewhere using the tools. And then there's students. There's all these people out here who want better communication. I mean, if you look at one thing that if you could help anyone on the planet with, and you had to choose one thing, communication has a lot of leverage, right? I mean, if you're a good communicator, you're probably going to do a lot better in your job than if you're not. And the better a communicator you are, the better in life I think you will have. And the last but not least are clients, where you've got this whole world that doesn't know how to communicate, needing to learn how to communicate, and where best to get it. The School of Conscious Communication. But the School of Conscious Communication is not just some school somewhere. We have to change the nature of education. I mean, it has to integrate with the people's lives as it is. It has to be able to take into account this infotech. Like whatever is the education of the future, we have to create it now, because what we went through, to me, was just a government indoctrination program. And now true consciousness, to break free, to get into 5D, to do anything in terms of the mind, is you have to reformat it. You have to break down your belief and value system and then design your own. So these tools are specifically for that. So anyway, so I mean, I've got map after map after breakdown at like 25 years designing. If you ask a question or say, what about this? I'm sure I could pull out 3 or 4 things that it's already been done. And my problem is I go crazy, because in most situations I've ever been in, I never get the chance to show my work. It's always too complicated, you're dismissed or this or that. And I just keep watching, the same stuff happen over and over again. Meanwhile, I've got, I think, probably one of the most advanced information systems on the planet.
Yeah, so we're looking at like a differentiation between like the most intelligent people in the world embody less than 1% of the world population, and so the more advanced you get, the less people you have to access. However, it works the other way around. Like if I were to go buy a Ferrari is like $200,000, so not as many people buy Ferraris, but because it's so expensive, you don't have to sell as many. So really, it's like we have to identify where is the metric, where we're aligning with, like, what's your passion and purpose in life, and then like what is our objective in the world, and then what's the landscape that we're dealing with as far as the supply and demand. Like, are people looking for extremely advanced information, or are people looking for like really, really simple stuff, and then only like 5,000 people in the world want the really advanced stuff, but maybe you only want to focus on those 5,000 people, which is totally cool. Like, there's no right or wrong in this exploration we're sharing here. So you get to decide, I get to decide, we get to decide what we really want to target. But ultimately, I like to go by like sort of data, like look at the data, like what's happening out there, what's the most popular. But honestly, more recently, I'm realizing if I go by what's popular on Google, I'm not going based on reality, because Google is not reality. Google only has like, again, 0.001% of all the data in the world. So really it's like more about like magic, synchronicity, and like going to the right conference at the right time, and like creating a TED talk and presenting it to like 3 people, and one of those 3 people happens to be a billionaire. So it's like, you never know.
Yeah.
So,
Agreed.
maybe we just start with making like a 20-page presentation, and we just put it out there, and maybe we have to make like 20 YouTube videos, or maybe we have to do more of these Zoom calls and just schedule like 20 Zoom. I have a friend, he's been doing like 5 Zoom calls every single day with like super cool people, and he just like was like sort of a nobody before that, and now he's like, everyone's like, oh my God, Kevin or Rosalind, you're so cool. And it's like, but he's not really cool based on anything other than the fact that he was talking to other people that were cool.
Right.
So
for sure. If I can add a piece, maybe for our next call, is maybe everyone brings one person, because there's Ramayan Danji is founding a company called Veeam, and it's a video, like a message creator, but I think it's also like you're going to be a story maker, and it's looking at the multidimensional reality of, how do we build all these things called Veeam, video meme, but then how do you add in all these other aspects that sort of like, to me, it's about integration of the infotext. So you're getting most bang with your buck, kind of like if I can send a message, boom, goes to all my outlets, to all my distribution things with just one press of the button. It just saved me 2 hours, right? And I think there's a lot of content creators who are kind of like, they're not where they want to be, but they've got great content. And to me, like, the school is looking to bring together all these infotexts, and just as you said, put them together. Like, figure out how they go. I mean, this to me is essential right here. This is a basic thing. This is like a blackboard. I mean, it's like video conferencing is the basis for human communication right now. So, I mean, that's already done. And, what's missing is, well, how do we organize these, as you said, in a curriculum? How do we build a story? What do we use for bringing in the people? Like, it's boundaries. It's definitions of this versus that. And if we come to agreements upon what they are, all of a sudden we have a container that is now a business, and now you can bring people into it, right? And so, to me, if like what this is a very timely well, not synchronicity in a sense, because it was pulled together, but I feel good about you too. And I get the sense, I want to leave my current situation, and I want to go into new places, and I'm ready I'm bringing my work together. I'm trying to find all the pieces that I've lost, and I've been, I didn't even know how to describe my life, but believe me, it's a big step for me to go into the real world. Big step. And to bring this stuff, like this stuff is utterly transformational. This shit works like you would not believe. And my, I don't know how to deal with, how does any, let's say, inventor go from, one phone call a week to 100,000 people emailing them or something, like, how do you deal with humans?
I think that knowledge is inherent, built inside of us, and I think that what you referenced as like the government programming sort of started to erase our memory and our access to that natural wisdom. But I think if we all sit down in our soberest moments and go for a walk in the forest and nature, that we literally instantly become connected to that type of knowledge of understanding how do things grow, how do things become popular, and all we have to do is think about anything that we've seen become popular in the past, whether it's the Beatles or like spaghetti and pizza. But everything that's popular in the world and in the cosmos, you could say or hypothesize, all embodies the same core tenets and principles of beauty, charm,
Yeah.
compassion, and so on. So it's not so much a mystery. I think it's more a matter for me of like, am I trying to do it alone, or am I doing it with a group of people and with the community at large? Because if I don't acknowledge the fact that this is all based on the premise that there's 8 billion of us here together in this experiment, and if I'm not planning for that and anticipating that type of situation, like let's say I was building a church and I wanted 10,000 people to come to my church, but there's only 10 chairs in the middle of the church. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, how do we build the space and the container and set that container? I think we've all built the space energetically, spiritually, psychologically. We're ready to go. Now it's just, how do we actually physically do it, not only on the internet, but also physically out, not on the internet. So my last 10 years of research and socializing in California, Los Angeles, San Diego, all of the conscious communities, launching Game Changers 500 in 2010, which is like 500 of the top, you know, conscious organizations in the world. And how do we acknowledge them and give them awards and support them? And unified.org, which is deals based in Canada, and declarationofconsciousness.org with, you know, Nandi, he's from India, different things like that. And so what I'm learning is that there's like this movement of all these festivals and conferences, for example. So a lot of the people that have online popularity also have offline popularity. So there actually is a
Yeah.
systematic way that things get out there. You know, if I wanted to become president, I could get a degree at Harvard Law School. I could join Skull and Bones, and then I'm on my way to becoming president. So I don't think the mystery is how does it work. I think what we really need to focus on is what do I, not how does it work, but what do I want to work. And like my friend told me, he's like, whatever you work works, was like his big, you know, sort of culmination of his, you know, life theory. So I think that's the most relieving and exciting thing that I could share, you know, for us to think about, is like, because I'm listening to myself too. I need the motivation too. And it's like, wow, you know, we could succeed at anything. We really can. And the actually, if we try to succeed at something because Google said, oh, this, you know, people are looking for, you know, organic food, and oh, I'm starting an organic food company, it's not going to succeed if I'm not backing it up with my own passion. So if we know that what we're stepping into the world with is like, this is, I'm passionate about this, I'll die for this, I don't care if like, if I drive myself into the ground, I just freaking love, you know, pink and purple ponies, and like, that's what I'm doing. And so even if you only get like 5 students, like, and you still don't care because you just know that that's what I want to wake up and do, I think that's probably one of the most important elements behind all of this. And then everything else is going to work, because I already know that the people, you guys know, the people I know, the people are out there. You know, you know, you get to the right 10 people, they have 100 friends, they have 1,000 friends. It will spread automatically if it's meant to spread. And if it doesn't spread, then we have to be ready for that too, and to just be ready to like change our model and change our approach. So I really see, what I see is like having a circle of like elders, visionaries, and specialists, and facilitators, and just really starting to bring that collective together, and having more conversations like this one. And I already know and trust that the perfect plan will reveal itself, because maybe the next person we invite into this circle not only already has the plan, but it's already built the platform. And in fact, this is exactly how I've been succeeding over the past 10 years and all the way back to medical school. Was, don't try to build it from scratch. Try to find someone that already built it and just steal it from them and rework it a little bit. And that's always worked for me. It worked in college. it's working in life. I don't know if it works in anyway.
So you're a
I'm
thief.
not gonna try to let me not try to squeeze that metaphor too much.
Wait a
But
second.
He's a
anyway,
thief.
No, no,
He's telling you he's a thief.
I think we need to re-language
You're a
that.
robber.
yeah.
We could be
Notice-
robbers together.
Notice good things,
Got my toque.
and you're
I'm
very
ready.
at integrating knowledge is available to everybody into whatever program.
yeah. Yeah.
It's like if we're building this whole thing on ethics, it's it's funny that hey,
yeah.
the times
So-
I'll hit it up.
So like I've had moments where I'm like, you know what? Forget about it. I'm not going to try to succeed in the way that works. Fuck that. That's just a concept. So then I realized, oh my God, I could just do what I want and make that work. I could focus on, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and cannabis, and love, and LSD, and music, and Jimi Hendrix, and psychedelics, and dark chocolate. And there's so many things that people wake up every day and throw money to, and nobody's selling it to them. So I think if we can overcome the barrier together and share this breakthrough together right now and all nows, of like realizing that the only mountain that we have to climb is the mountain we set before us. And if we could remove that mountain of disbelief and doubt and despair and like, oh, I can't do it and I don't know how. And if we could just take that personality and just put it where it belongs and let everything flourish, I think that we're going to be good to go, for the next eternity. Because I really think that we don't really need to spend a lot of time figuring out concepts. I think I already trust that we're speaking to a very intelligent audience with the three of us, as well as with whoever we want to speak to in the future. And in fact, this is an exciting marketing plan, which is to say, hey, if we get $100 from 1,000 people, that's $100,000. So let's take the 8 billion people in the world and pull out the 1,000 people we give a fuck about, that give a fuck about what we give a fuck about, and we'll just get $100 from them, and we literally don't have to do anything else. If we do anything else, it's only because we desire to or because God led us to, but not because we have to do it to survive. So, yeah, go ahead. I'm done thinking for that part.
Well, but I think you always got to bring it back to the main distinction.
Yeah.
In terms of, let's say, the higher intent and motivation. So, of course, you need money, and of course, you need all these people and all these things, but you're not doing it for the money or just to, let's say, I would say, just help people. This is systems change. This is overall, the old system's dying, the new system's being created, and that type of system infrastructure is a lot of times behind the scenes. Like, we don't see the mycelium. We don't know all the things behind Windows operating system, but we use it. But there are people who built it, or there are things that are building it. And I think that with the internet and the infotech, there's this, my focus was on language structure, ideal language structure, rather than this piece or this or this. And, the built-in intention is enlightenment for the species. The built-in intention is, freeing everyone to design their ideal job. Like, there's intentions that are designed within this infrastructure. But I think when you take a look at it, you'll go, okay, that's a pretty good idea, for everyone to, in the whole system, to be helping everyone else, like to make whatever it is that they need to make per month as just a baseline. If you know that everyone in your sort of organization is helping you, that to me is the basis of connection and love and cooperation that we need. I think the way that things are structured, there's an inherent competitiveness, and we're not really, we could be doing so much for each other. So there's so many resources hidden or not used and barely used, and it's this mentality again that we're alone, we're separate, we're by ourselves, and all of the negative frequencies that go with that, and then the byproducts. And I think what we're talking about is a true sort of container plus access to the true synergy of these people who have the gifts, who want to do the change. They just haven't been connected or resourced yet. And you don't have to get to everybody, you just have to get to a few. And when those few get together and you give them the right things, boom, they will create. Like most inventions are created by one person, right? Most things that we use, in some way, one person did it. And then everybody gained access as soon as that person's work got access to the species. But if you have a platform helping all of these individuals who've come up with these amazing things to bring their stuff to the world, I think things will advance into the ethical side of the way we need to go, because most people I know who've come up with these amazing things, they're very good people. They're doing it for good reasons. They're not doing it to make the money. They're not doing it because someone's forcing them to do it. They're doing it because at the bottom of their heart, they know it's their spiritual destiny to do this. And when you have that intent of purity, you are a freaking different person, because you're giving homage to the Creator and the deeper and higher forces that are coming through us. And as soon as we identify it as ours, we kill it in a sense. And that's what humans are doing. We're struggling with this identity. We won't connect to anything because we don't believe in anything, but we're lost in this space of non-meaning. And we're trying to grab this meaning through these stories and distractions and entertainment, whatever the fuck humans are talking about. But it's rarely about, you know, the main reason we are here. And I think that's to spiritually evolve by coming up with an ethical system within ourselves that actually, you know, allows us to interact with other human entities without freaking trying to kill each other. And if that isn't built in, then what's the fucking point? Anyway.
Yeah. So language. If the core, I would like to make a vote that the core, one of the core tenets of this platform is language.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm sure there's like maybe 8 other core tenets that we could probably flesh out that are already there under our nose. You know, I was thinking school of higher language as opposed to school of conscious communication. What's that? Language. Yeah. Language comes from languish, like if you're languishing. Philanthropy. Yes. So, okay, what about this? What if you have a language that's not based on 26 letters?
Yeah.
What if you have a language that's not based on weird symbols sketched out on Egyptian pyramids, like musical language or the language of love? Isn't love a language? Like making love or music? So when you say language, do you really mean English language or speaking through the tongue language? Because if that's not what you mean, then we might not want to mislead people by saying, "Oh, our focus is communication." Because if we say that, they might be misinterpret it and think that what you meant was in words, as opposed to spiritual communication language. And
I'm trying to see what you're holding up, Elijah. And right now I'm seeing. Okay, all right, got it. I didn't see all.
I'm hoping this can be seen by the viewing audience at some point.
Yeah, I'm seeing basically the ultimate goal would be to build like an iPhone app of sorts, or a web app, where you can interact with each of these modules or icons, and then you click on one and it like opens up into a little interactive space where you could master that concept, and you could start connecting things, like a whole dashboard, basically a spiritual dashboard for your soul, your life, and your love, and your business. And then the coins, it's kind of like when you go to Las Vegas and they give you a stack of chips to play with. So I would get a stack of chips, and then I would like have to be given like games and assignments, like the gamification of spiritual awakening in a sense. And then, but also there's a necessity to create like a sense of relevance at the very, very beginning. So like building as this is more about the marketing, I suppose, but like building a communication style and a copywriting that it talks about people's immediate emergencies, which is like food and shelter and my relationships and my health and my diet and my physical ailments of cancer and AIDS and my travel needs and dreams and my family emergencies and those types of things. I feel like if we can create scenarios and examples and demonstrations of how this body of knowledge and joining this quote unquote mystery school can actually immediately provide massive value to those situations that the majority of people are going through in the world. So like what I envision is basically a commercial series. You have like 10 commercials, and we've all had this experience where we're watching a commercial, and then right after the Allstate commercial, there's a second Allstate commercial that's almost like 90% exactly the same. So they play like two commercials in a row. So like we can create a series of like different scenarios and commercials and like 1 minute short films and like audio visual experiences that are just like 1 to 2 minutes long, and each one depicts a scenario that a person's going through. And then we show like the first 30 seconds we present the problem, you know, like, oh, meet Tommy is like lost purpose in his life and he has a lot of money but he's depressed and suicidal. And then the second 30 seconds shows the playing out of the solution as he's exposed to the information. Maybe he finds a chip on the sidewalk, or maybe someone gives him one of those chips, you know, somewhere randomly, and then he reads the chip and it says, oh, you know, do you have meaning in your life? Here's the da-da-da, and here's how meaning works. And boom, his world opens up to new possibilities. So, but then the second commercial will be like, oh, meet Maria. She's a analyst for the political blah, blah, blah of the Vietnam War of Afghanistan, and so on and so forth. So if we pick and identify and target like 10 to 20, like very, very, very specific scenarios and people and organizations, and we play out that script, what we're doing is we're creating like a self-fulfilling prophecy. We're not advertising a possible future. We're literally stuffing a possible future down people's throats because we're certain that that's the future that we want for them and that they want for themselves. But they're so drowning in their own misery and their own bullshit that they need someone to stuff their own future down their throat, in a sense. So that's basically the job of the artist, is to like communicate, to radically communicate these new possibilities without asking for permission first. So
it's like command cell therapy. It sounds like it does. It really does. You're just telling people's minds what to think, what to dream in. You know, it's like hypnosis.
Yeah, and also if we build a character in each of these 10 stories, if the main character has all the qualities of a character that the audience is likely to follow. You know, this is more like film technique. So when you have the hero's journey, the hero is a character that embodies the flaws of the audience, but also embodies the achievements of ultimately to become the hero. So the story starts off with a normal person that's going through the same problems that the audience is going through, and then we show that journey of the character asking all the questions that the audience is asking, like, oh, what the fuck is this, and what is this product, and I don't care about this, and why should I believe in this, and well, that's not going to work for me. And so if the character in the story is challenging the product, then the product becomes I can approach that product, I can approach that university, I can approach that body of knowledge, because the character is investigating it for me within the marketing piece itself. So and then beyond that, you know, is the layer of interactivity. So if I go to your landing page, Elijah, I would love to be able to see a set of options where I could say, option 1, I want to sign up for the university. Option 2, I want to talk to Elijah and schedule a call. Oh, okay, that's $50. Option 3, I want to go to a retreat. Oh, that's $2,000. Maybe you should do the teleconference first. Option 4, I want to watch a bunch of videos. So if you lay out the options, then the users can come in and be filtered like at the DMV
Yeah.
and know like, oh, you need to go over to this section first because you're not really ready to dive into section 2. And you don't even have the ability to know what section you belong in. So that's why we created this landing page so that we could help your sorry ass to figure out. Sorry, I had to add the comedic effect. But anyway,
I prefer it. I prefer it.
So I'm telling man, oh man. Whew.
If I want to be part of an organization that can can talk like pirates and not worry about it.
Yeah.
Offend everybody at least once a day.
Yeah. Oh man, I have so many cool people that I've met in my life. If I could get all those people
Oh.
in the room, you know, I wouldn't really need to do any talking. So
Well, okay, I'm hearing a takeaway, and I want to hear what Sasha has to say in assessment of everything that's been happening so far, and are we on course? And one thing that I heard was a sort of a what if each of us identified 20 scenarios and some sort of organizational structure for that 20 for the next meeting.
yeah, we could work on a list and
Don't get too freaking excited, Jesus.
No,
and
I heard you, Elijah, and I was
Or is that my job?
I am pensive in constructing my response as it kind of
A bad idea.
it's a no from me anyway. Sparks might be in there with you, but you ain't getting that from me. I can tell you that now. Reason being is because I feel like, personally, from what I'm hearing, with the, listening to everything that's being shared today, that it just feels a bit premature to be bringing a mass of more material to the table. I feel like there's already enough. And I would like to see, and this is just, again, you're inviting me to sort of offer my thought flow here. I would like to see the mass that's already there channeled somewhat so that it can then provide a foundation to move forward. I feel like bringing more, and that could just be for me, I mean, someone else may find that's a great way to take it forward, but I feel like that it would just be a bit overwhelming, perhaps.
yeah, so that's perfect. See, because like that's an example of like Sasha walked on to our university campus and she's like, I don't want to go to the School of Music, I want to go to the School of Medicine. So maybe that activity that you offered to us just now isn't meant for everyone, but that's okay. That's why we have a university, so that people can decide for themselves how they want to participate. So really what I think is the best thing for us to do together is to really look at what are our personal and business needs over the next like week or two, and like what are our objectives and goals, and then how can we support each other's like near term objectives and goals, and then that conversation will evolve into who do we invite next. Like, oh, okay, we all have a similar aligned objective of raising $50,000 seed capital and setting up more systems. I want to get a couple employees and automate some stuff, and then I want to pay for Facebook and Google ads. So once we identify our aligned overlapping objectives, then we could schedule stuff, set up tasks, and like do things together, plan things together, because we know that what we're agreeing to do together is actually going to achieve the desired outcome that meets our personal and collective needs.
I like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that too.
So, I mean, I think we all know what that looks like. I mean, I think it's a matter of like just looking at like okay, so we're going to keep on growing our business, you know, in our life, in the business of life and awakening humanity. And there's always going to be Babylon. Babylon's always going to be there, like convincing us that we need to eat food and make money to eat food. And like, I don't know if you guys know, but I'm studying a lot of different esoteric material. And today I was researching the Siddhis, Siddhi. A Siddhi is like a superpower that you attain through practices of meditation, breath, and yoga. And some of the Siddhis are like telepathy, time travel, not having any bowel movements, living off of breath alone, you know, being able to make your body the size of a molecule, being able to embody someone else's body, you know, like mind control. So like there's different powers, you know, that people will use for good or for not good. And my point in bringing that up is saying that, like, you know, yeah, sure, is it make sense to design a business that helps me to make money so that I can survive? Is that actually the right system, you know, and or is that something we need to look at as well? So I think having a university, having a school of knowledge, having a body of students and bringing in teachers and facilitators, I think this is a great idea. I think what we just need to look at is like, are we going to build something from scratch, or are we going to look at it from a sense of strategic partnership and partnering with stuff that's already out there? Because if there is a willingness and an openness to partnering with what's already out there, I can roll out for you like 20 different organizations that I'm already in touch with that have thousands, if not tens of thousands of students and users and millions of dollars and locations all around the world and already running, and we could be up and running by tomorrow because we already are up and running. So it's up to you guys to let me know what you're available to in your heart and mind and soul, and then that gives me permission to roll out stuff. You know, I already sent you a link to secretenergy.com. That's Savan Bomar. He has one of the most incredible systems I've ever seen in my life. And he is like a genius. He lives in Costa Rica right now. He's on YouTube. He's on Facebook. He's got retreats. He has like financial systems for ambassadors to like make money off of his program. He has the whole freaking like universe that he's already built out. And I have someone who's getting me in touch with him. I have another friend who lives in Costa Rica, so I'm like working my way towards him. And so I personally don't necessarily need to build something from scratch. I'm okay if I join and integrate with, like, if I were to like peruse the world and pick my favorite 100 people, my favorite 100 brands, my favorite 100 hotels, like I'm full. I don't need to create something new. I have so much to work with just from that list alone. And then in the process of working with those 100 companies, yeah, maybe I'll launch a school down the line. Maybe like 2 months from now, I'll be like, oh yeah, I finally hit that moment of inspiration. I was talking to this dude, we pulled together a school, and boom, now we have a school. But it's like, does that need to be our primary first objective order of operations, that absolutely focus all of our attention only on that? I don't know. You know, that's something to think about. Yeah, go ahead.
My time has run out. I have a meeting that I would like to get to on time, and if I don't leave almost immediately, I'm going to miss that.
Okay.
So I wanted to hear more from Sasha, but I think at least I mean, no matter what, we met. This was the first contact. Obviously, there's a lot of synergy and connection and possibility. As you said, each of us has probably a pretty busy life, or an idea of a busy life, and anything else is a big thing, and especially what we're talking about is a huge thing. And I like I mean, the idea is to design your ideal job. So if we use the tools to help both of you, let's say, do your jobs that you want to do, and then within that, have that within a larger idea of something very, very interesting and fun that everyone goes, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to aim at. And it's going to take more dialogue and reflection and contemplation and dreaming and divination and whatever happens in between, because to me, we're in a magical space. We don't have to have the business. Things are just going to appear, and we are all high priestesses and magicians and wizards and people that, you know, once we agree on something, it's just going to happen. And we're entering into a world of complete manifestation. And I like you guys. And I look forward to us talking again, and soon, hopefully, and in between, that maybe we get some revelations as to how we want to work with one another.
Wonderful.
Thank
Wonderful.
you, Elijah.
Okay, but I got to run, and I sorry if I didn't have enough time, Sasha, in terms of just hearing yours, but I would like maybe
No, it's all good.
the in between to be. Anyway, you know, I got to go.
Take care.